Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about how voting is public speech, and understanding this fact, and then understanding how this fact will impact the 2020 U.S. presidential primary race and the 2020 U.S. presidential general election. Okay? All right, so I've been thinking about this a lot. I've been thinking a lot about voter turnout. All right, now here's the thing. Actually, in 2016, here's the numbers. 139 million people voted in 2016 out of an eligible 250 million voters. That was actually a pretty good turnout. It was actually the highest turnout ever. It was the highest turnout in any election. So at 56%. Excuse me. But that's pretty terrible. That means 44% of all Americans did not vote. So a majority of people do vote in the presidential election, but in these smaller races, in state races, and very much in local races, the vast majority of people don't vote. And even in America, even in the presidential, all of this is American specific. In the presidential election, barely a majority vote. Like, it's 56%, but yeah, that's 4 out of 10 people. More than 4 out of 10 people are not voting. 2 out of 5 people are not voting. That means 3 out of 5 people are voting. 2 out of 5 people are not voting. That's significant. That's some major numbers there. Okay. All right. Now, when I think politics is a very deep subject, and people talk about this and they're like, oh, why don't people just vote? Well, I know why. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I think I understand why people don't vote. And I've been thinking more and more and more why people don't vote. And one of the reasons why I'm thinking about this is the fact that people don't vote is one of the massive reasons why Andrew Yang lost. Of course, I'm a recovering Andrew Yang enthusiast. I'm deeply wounded that he is out of the race, and now I'm stuck with the sufficient 6. Like, look at the candidate pool that I get to choose my candidate from to vote in the primary for and to vote in the general. We're talking Bernie, Biden. We're talking Sanders, Biden, Warren, Klobuchar, Buttigieg, and Bloomberg. That I call them the sufficient 6. One of them may be sufficient enough to get my vote, but Andrew Yang was the real deal, and people didn't care. They just didn't show up at the polls. They didn't engage, and we lost the greatest leader this country could ever had. A leader who not only would have fixed America, but frankly, in my opinion, would have fixed half the economies of half the countries in the world with freedom dividend and with his brilliance. That's gone. It's all turned to ash. Ain't never going to happen now. Right? It's dust in the wind. All right? So let's talk this through and see where we're actually going to land. And very, very sad. It's a sad fact. It's just disappointing and sad making. And but where does this land as far as voting? So actually specifically not voting. So why do people not vote? A lot of people, 44 out of 100 people in the last election decided, I'm not going to vote. Why? It's critical to understand this if we're going to be ready for 2020. I'm going to give it to you. Here we go. Let's pop it out, all right? Here we go. Voting is public speech. When you vote, you are giving a public speech. Basically, you do every single thing to vote that you do to give a public speech. Every single thing. It's exactly the same. The only difference is that when you would speak publicly, you actually go in and you privately pull a lever, and what you're saying is private for a moment. It's public pretty soon. It's not connected to your name, but your voice is heard. It's heard in an aggregate. Okay? All right, so let's talk about voting as public speech. So first of all, trust and believe, people hate to public speak. It is one of the number one fears of human beings, okay? Now, I do not suffer from this. In fact, and I have instilled in every single Garibay in the family a ruthless relentless eagerness to public speak. And the reason why is, hey, I got a wife and 4 kids, right? I want to defeat the world and take everything. That's the Garibay law. I want to move forward. I want to provide for my family. I want to get and give to them. That's the whole model. That's the Garibay model, right? Now, I obey the law of pain rule when I do that. I break no laws and I hurt no one when I do that, okay? But beyond that, ain't no limits, but I do follow those 2 specifics, right? So, and there is no faster way to power than public speech. Done, period, right? People's eyes are on you. You have influence. You can be heard. Your ideas are propagated. Public speech is awesome, okay? And I had fear of public speech, just like every normal human being has fear of public speech a long time ago. That is gone, and I've instilled in all my children, and I think I've even affected my wife to the point where public speech is actually absolutely. My wife sings, right? So Garibays are in front of public people, opening their mouths all the time. It's a thing, and we have a ruthless, relentless, desire to get in front of the crowd, right? And so, and the reason, and it's not to get in front of the crowd, it's to get ahead in this world, and there's no better path to getting ahead in this world than public speech. Okay, all right. Now, that is the exact opposite of every human on of virtually every other human on the planet. People hate public speaking, and if you check, like every high school, every college, every university is trying desperately to fix this problem because they realize how important this is. You can't change the world if you can't talk to people, right? Now, why do people hate public speaking? They're not wrong to hate public speaking. Public speaking is terrible. It is the worst, right? Now, once you get used to it, all the difficulties of it fade into the background, and you build a toolkit where the normal obstacles that exist for most people don't exist for you, right? But for most people, look at all the obstacles it takes to public speak. So first and foremost, the moment you decide to public speak, you will be vetted and you will be judged. Now that's huge. We have to linger on this point, okay? You will be vetted, okay? All right, and again, everything I say for public speech goes for voting, and I'll rack them down. All right, when you publicly speak, you vetted. So basically, when you publicly speak, you're going to get a microphone, okay? And basically, when you get a microphone, an institution is going to set it up and they're going to give it to you. They're going to give you the mic, right? That institution is there. Like, you walked in their doors, you were vetted the moment you walked in their doors, right? If you didn't fit the criteria for what they wanted for a public speaker, you ain't never going to even get close to that stage. You're being vetted, right? You may be a member of that organization or you were invited by that organization, but trust and believe, you are vetted. Guess what? When you go to vote, you're vetted. That's what registration is. They're like, you got your papers? Where's your papers? Let's see your papers. Right? There you go. That's vetting. You are vetted when you vote. It's the first step. Next, you are judged. You are judged. What's your face look like? What's your clothes look like? How much do you weigh? What's your voice sound like? Can you project? You don't speak loud enough? Speak up. You are judged constantly. People hate this stuff. They hate it. They hate it with a passion. They hate it with a passion. Okay? But when you go to publicly speak, when you go to vote, you will be vetted. You will be judged. Okay? And by the way, I can hear a few out there going, what about an absentee ballot, Garibay? Guess what? Don't work. Don't work. Don't work. Here's why. Okay? One, I'm getting rid of the absentee ballot excuse. People are like, oh, people don't want to go through this. They can go through the absentee ballot. They can't. They can't. Here's why. Okay? If you're polling, polls are made locally. Okay? Polls are put in your local area. And so if they put your poll in your local area, then it's sitting there, 2 blocks away for you to go to the polls. Okay? And if you're like, oh, I'm too frightened to vote, I better get an absentee ballot. You're going to judge yourself. You're going to judge yourself. You're like, holy crap, that poll's 3 blocks down the road. All I got to do is get my clothes on and go down and do the right thing. My foremothers died for this right. All I got to do is go down there. Can't I just, cojones up and do the right thing? Oh, no, I can't. I'm just gonna get an absentee ballot and tell myself that that's an act of courage and not an act of cowardice. But you know in your heart that is an act of cowardice, and you're going to judge yourself. You do not escape judgment. Voting comes with judgment. Powerful, powerful judgment. People don't like to be judged, right? You either judge yourself or your community judges you when you vote, right? And so it's a thing. It's huge. And that judgment on yourself, it's powerful. And people don't, and you know what's easier? To just not vote and not have to judge yourself and not be judged by your community. And we're not thinking, a lot of people aren't thinking about this. They're like, oh, you just need to vote. No, we don't just tell people you just need to vote. Voting is hard. You are vetted and judged as the first step. And it sucks. It sucks. It sucks being vetted. It sucks being judged. Voting sucks. It sucks. It does. Every step of it is a pure crap load. It is not good. And one of the things, the reason why I'm saying this is nobody's talking the truth. Everybody's telling everybody that voting is easy. It's not. Voting is hard. Hard work. Who wants to be vetted? Who wants to be judged? And one of the problems we have with politics today is people aren't speaking the truth about it. People are saying that voting is a minor thing, and that, smiling and putting, happy faces next to it. Voting is hard and it sucks. You get vetted and you get judged as the first two steps. It's terrible. It's terrible. All right. Next, you have to be determined. You have to know what you want, right? And in order to be determined, you have to be prepared. Most people aren't determined and most people aren't prepared. And they don't want to have to be determined, and they don't want to have to be prepared. You have to be specific. You have to be specific, right? There's someone I love dearly, and I'll say, hey, are we going to get blueberry ice cream or are we going to get strawberry ice cream? Let's get both. It drives me crazy. I'm like, make a decision, right? But, because the person doesn't want to be specific. They don't want to make a decision. That don't work in voting. Either or. For the president, you don't get 2 votes, you get 1, right? So, and people don't want to be specific. So you're going to, and the other thing is, you're going to have to be loud. When you vote, it is loud. Right? Do you know what it's like to walk into a polling station? I think some of you do. First of all, you're greeted by one of the worst people in the world, a politician. They're the worst. They're like imps from the 7th circle. Let's talk about them, right? They got a suit on and a smile, and they want to ask your name, and they want to tell you their name. They're the nicest person in the world, but they don't care about you. They just want one thing. They want your vote, right? They have nice clothes. They have a nice attitude. They have a smile for you. They want your name. They want to give you their name. They want to treat you like a human being and give you niceties and respect and kindness, but all for a purpose, to get your vote. That's why people don't like politicians, right? It's all spectacle. It's all presentation. Vast majority don't care about what they're doing. They care about the power. And even if they do care, right, there's all this presentation. There's this rigmarole dance, right? They're treating you nice to get what they want. People don't like that. They know it. It's a used car salesperson's tactic. It's a used car salesperson tactic. And it makes people frustrated. They don't like it, right? That's the first thing you hit when you come to a poll, right? Is somebody you don't know, dressed in a suit, asking for your name, trying to shake your hand, giving you literature you didn't ask for. It sucks. Voting sucks. It is terrible. And I'm saying this because nobody else is. Everybody's just pretending like, oh, good, come on out to your polling booth. It's going to be great. It's going to be so fun. No, the registration sucks. The people suck. And it gets worse, right? So once you get past that jackamole in the suit, right, what happens next? Oh, your cousin, right? Oh, hey, are you still with Joe? Did you guys break up? Oh, okay. Sorry to hear that. Hey, weren't you gonna get a welding certificate, but now you're just still working at the Wawa? You're gonna see people you know. They're gonna ask you questions you don't like because it's your local community, right? Like, it's not good. It's not good in any way. People, it's all things people absolutely despise. Voting sucks. It's hard. It's hard, right? And we're spinning these lies to people that voting's no big deal. It is a big deal. It's exactly like public speech. Every time you vote, you're giving a public speech. No wonder nobody wants to do it. Like, it's amazing. We had a 56% turnout in the last election. Truly amazing. So yeah, so that's the issue. You have to be vetted. You have to be judged. You have to be determined. You have to be specific. You have to be loud. Okay? These are all things people don't want. The act of walking in that polling station. Then even when you get past the person in the suit, when you get past your cousin, when you get past your mother's friend who has a million questions, right? When you get past, then you're going to get to the person who's like, what's your name? Identify yourself. State who you are, right? Let's put this on the record. People don't like that, man. It's frightening. You can almost hear the whispers. You're on jury duty next week, Giacomoli. You're there. Welcome to the real world. All this is gonna suck. Jury duty, taxes, everything. Like, it is not good. It is not good. And you and me, we're political wonks. This stuff rolls off our back like water off of a duck's back. We don't even think about it because we're highly robust, high-functioning human beings, right? But a lot of people aren't, right? And all this stuff is terrifying to them, right? And this is why we get such low voter turnout. And I think, boy, oh boy, we are looking at one of the lowest voter turnouts in history coming up. I think there's going to be very, very, very low voter turnout for 2020. So that's the issue. We really need to. And this will very, very, very naturally suppress the vote for the primary race and for the general election. It is going to be nigh on impossible to beat Trump. We have a 1 to 9% chance with any of the sufficient six. The best of them is going to have a 9% chance. The worst of them is going to have a 1% chance. This is going to be incredibly, incredibly hard. We need to start thinking about voting as public speech. And then also, when we ask people to vote, say, listen, I'm here to ask you to vote. I'm here to ask you to do the hardest thing you've ever done. I'm here to ask you to publicly speak. And we need to start owning what we're actually asking for. We need to start wrapping our requests in truth. All that is my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.